Carlos Marx. In Portuguese, Karl Marx is Carlos Marx, is the name. So, and I went on the manuscript, on the Grundrisse, and so on, about this Carlos Marx. So, you can imagine that this is, of course, now we laugh, but at that time, as you mentioned, I was a little bit suspended when these guys would really, find out. So I thought about everything, of course, except about Das Kapital, because that word was no. So, but Grundrisse nobody could, in any way, write by anybody. So this is not the whole story. And I'm interested in the rest of the story, because that's the story that interests on this side of the line. It says that if we don't have other alternative instruments to struggle for liberation, we have to use the ones we have. We cannot choose our struggle. We use struggle with instruments that are available most of the time. So what to do with the human rights in this respect? First of all, let's take some of the premises, and then you'll see how I go along to develop this intercultural conception of human rights and how they can bring together people from different cultures fighting for human dignity. The first one, in my view, it is absolutely imperative to supersede, to go beyond, to transcend the debate between universalism and relativism. It's very good, it's a marvelous debate, we like it very much, but it's useless. All cultures are relative, but of course relativism is as a philosophical posture is wrong. Because from a critical point of view, you have to have criteria, political criteria that orient you, or guide you, and the problem is how you develop them. You develop them in struggle, you develop them in collectively, these criteria that may distinguish something as retrogressive and something as progressive. If we don't accept that, it is difficult to go into kind of the intercultural conception of human rights that Second premise is that all cultures have conceptions of human dignity. They formulated them in very, very different ways, but all of them have these conceptions. The third premise is that all cultures are incomplete or problematic in some respect on this human dignity. Probably is the fact that there are a plurality of cultures, so all cultures are partial. And this partiality turns into incompleteness and problematic, and you'll see some problems when we compare different cultural premises. You can see the problems. Of course, they are not the same problems for everyone, but there are always problems there. The problem is to see whether we can talk about our different problems. The fourth premise is that no culture is monolithic. So there is internal variation. Just to give you an example, if you look at the bibliography in human rights, there is a long-standing tradition of distinguishing between the liberal conceptions of human rights and the Marxist conception of human rights. The liberal conception privileges civil and political rights. The Marxist conception privileges social and economic rights, even though it includes the others. So the idea is that, in my view, these two conceptions of human rights within the Western tradition, the broader tradition is the Marxist tradition, much broader than the liberal tradition. And in that case, I think the Marxist tradition is better for an intercultural venture, and you'll see that if you take the perspective from here, social and economic rights are always first, because people are hungry and they don't know how to solve the serious problems of life above all the others. So, this being the premises, then consider that for an intercultural translation you have to start with the concept which is in Aristotle's rhetoric, and that is developed, the way I use it, very much developed by a great Belgian rhetorician or professor of rhetoric, Chaim Perelman. Some of you probably know him. Chaim Perelman. As Chaim Perelman develops the rhetoric, the way I'm trying to develop it in my work here, I just mentioned the fact that if all cultures are dominated by strong, what we could call strong topoi. Topos, loci communis, the evident premises of argumentation, which of course we don't discuss because they are self-evident, and they construct our argumentation, of course, is based on these topoi, and they don't have to be discussed because they are self-evident. That's why we don't discuss these days the atomic nature of nature, the atomic structure of nature, because it's a kind of a topos of modern physics. But once you enter in intercultural translation, the topoi become arguments. They lose the self-evidence, and you have to argue for them. And believe me, this is the most difficult thing that you can imagine. Because you have been so used as accepting something as evident, that now, but why is that? Explain, give me a good reason for that. Then it's really the trouble, because we are not trained to question our topoi. Because we are trained by our topoi. It's almost a kind of a uniform of Oedipus complex, in a sense. So let's look at three conceptions of human dignity and see how the topoi of each one of them is questioned by an intercultural translation, and see how we can get from there. In my work, and